Hello and welcome to the Martial Arts Teaching Tactics Podcast. I'm Chris Kent, and I'm joining Chris Bean. Mr. Bean?
Hello, sir.
Today we're going to be talking about games and developing for yourself a database of these games that you can implement and deploy into your classes, either during the class to break up some of the larger teaching sections, or at the end of your class to end on a high note, or we even talked the last episode about our summer camps and how we tie those games into our summer camps or different events and things like that. So it's going to be all about those games and the way that we can kind of backlog these extra activities and things that we can use at different times. And we also mentioned this before when we were talking about lesson plans and having games and activities and drills that are already planned out and ready to go. We just have to take that thing and start it into, whatever thing is happening right now. So we're going to start off by talking about the 5-minute drills or 5-minute activities and how you can kind of use those to enhance your class and make it a lot better for you and for your students.
So coming up with a group of 5-minute drills or games or activities is key, because there's oftentimes you'll find yourself as you're teaching your class, you'll end one activity or one drill, or you'll start another one early, and by the end of the class, you're off by a handful of minutes. Only a handful, 5 minutes, give or take. Or you need, a buffer kind of in between doing this really kind of intense activity before you move to the other relatively intense activity. So giving your students kind of a opportunity to kind of disengage their brain for 5 minutes before re-engaging their brain to think deeply about whatever the next thing that you have on your list is helpful, is very helpful. And so having a list, a database of 5-minute drills or activities or games or something like that is helpful, because it's so applicable. So many times you can say, okay, man, we got 5 minutes to kill. What can we do? Boom, do this. Okay, you're not thinking something up. It's just you have already this list of things that work and the kids like, or the students like, or they find enjoyment from. So you plug and play that. Okay, great. That one's done. Now let's move back to our curriculum, back to the lesson plan. So starting it and moving, that can kind of like be your interlude between your two drills that you do. Start to identify areas of downtime in your class, and then you can plug and play those drills, the 5-minute skills that you have. After noticing, of course, you have downtime, you have to do something about it. So realizing that at some point in your class, there's going to be downtime. Being aware of that is very helpful. Then, now that you're aware of it, come up with something to do. Fill that 5-minute time gap with something. This could be as simple as, okay, everybody, we're going to do 30 balance roundhouse kicks on each leg. Ready, go. They do 30 on one leg, 30 on the other side. Okay, when you're done, hold your center splits. Pow. Good. Or, all right, listen, guys, before we move on to our next activity, I want you guys to do your highest form 3 times. When you're done, hold your center splits. Or when you're done, do jumping jacks. Or when you're done, do squats, or something like that. So they do something that is foundational or helpful for them to move forward. It's on their curriculum. Then they have some sort of physical activity, center splits, they're stretching, they're getting ready, or they're doing jumping jacks or squats or something like that. And I would say that the activity that happens after the exercise is going to be important, because that's going to kind of dictate what's going to happen next. And so if you're going to do, their form 3 times, which is relatively demanding, then have them do jumping jacks, which is, again, relatively demanding, and then lead into something else that's also demanding. That's not, they're going to be getting burnt out a little bit. So if you do their form 3 times and you have them do splits, hold that for 30 seconds or something like that, then you move to the next relatively demanding drill. Then they have that split time to kind of refresh and gear up for whatever that next activity is. These can be an opportunity to help keep the pace of the class high, keep the energy of the class high. You can have them, double down and refocus and maybe play a game for this time. Now, a game, sometimes we say games and they can be, I hate to use the word counterproductive, but they're not productive. But you also could make this a productive, or at least a productive adjacent activity. And so what do I mean? Well, you can have them hold their attention position. So you work on their discipline. They stand still. Okay, listen, hey, we're going to hold your position here. If you move, If you look around, if you talk, if you laugh, one of those things, boom, you're out. When you're out, you sit down and you do this exercise, or you go to the other part of the room and do a form or something like that. You can, instead of having them hold a static attention position, you can have them hold, a sidekick out, or you have them hold a middle punch out, or something like that. So then they're engaging, they have a stance in there, they have a technique that they're holding, and they got to hold it. They can't move. If they move, if they look around, something like that, boom, they're out. They're out, and you have your team watching for those movements. You moved, or maybe even if they're doing super good and they're just standing still, maybe then your team, okay, now we're going to try to trick you. Don't move. This is always a trick, right? Then you get them, okay, give me 5. Pow, you're doing good, man. I'll tell you what, it's so frequent. You ask somebody that, okay, listen, don't move, stand still. And then you say, oh, that's awesome. Give me 5. I can't tell you how many times they'll reach out. Oh, man, I wasn't supposed to move. They don't even give you a 5. They stop right before I'm out. They know it, right? And so it's so easy to kind of, work around and play with that. Make that a game. Make that a fun activity. Even though they're just standing still for 5 minutes. Okay, maybe not 5 minutes, but, they're standing still for 3 or 4 minutes. Okay, don't move. Okay, that can be real strict and firm if you just say, okay, stand still, and then you don't look at them, you don't talk to them, you don't, nothing. Give them a challenge. Okay, just stand there, don't move. Okay, that's real boring and dry, right? Okay, just stand still. We're going to try to get you to move. We're going to try to get you to laugh or talk to us. Don't do it. It's always a trick. It's a trick, right? Your goal is just to stand still. It's a game. Who's going to win this game? Oh, man, you're out. Go back and do some forms back there. Then they're out. They get to go do something that is foundational to their information. Everybody, it's a win-win. It's a win-win, right? Not to mention, while they're doing that activity, they're working on their discipline. Discipline is again a foundational, I guess is my word of the day. Discipline is a foundational benefit of martial arts. So they're working on that as they're playing that quote unquote game. And then if they get out, oh man, they're out. Man, instead of sitting down, nope, they're going to go back and do some form or do some exercises or whatever it is that they're going to do, as opposed to just, okay, sit down and watch everybody else now, right? They're still doing something. They're still active. That can be a huge boost to the level of your class just by implementing just that quick little 5-minute deal. And this isn't just something that kids benefit from. And I say benefit because standing still is a benefit, right? They really work on their control, their discipline, their focus, all of those things. But even outside of the kids' classes, the 4, 5, 6, 7, at 10, it's hard to stand still for any length of time, really. And then you have somebody that's in front of you trying to mess with you a little bit, trying to get you to move, trying to get you to laugh or look around. That's tough to do for anybody, any age you are. And so having something like that, again, isn't just, it's a game. Okay, it is kind of a game, but it's not just for the kids, and especially not just for the little kids. Anybody across your student body can benefit from an activity that is exactly like that. So if you haven't done something like that, give it a try. Give it a try. Let us know how what your students thought of it, what you thought of it as the teacher, as the leader of that drill. Now, of course, you want to, as they're doing these 5-minute drills, there has to be an end, right? And you want that transition to be an easy transition into whatever the next thing is. That's where we talk about kind of, if they're done doing center splits, okay, center splits they're not going to want to hold that for, ample length of time. They want to do that for just a little bit. Okay, great. Oh man, they can wipe their brow. All right, good. Let's move on to the next thing. So think about some sort of a kind of a transitional movement or transitional time and how you move from that 5-minute drill that you implemented into whatever the next drill or activity is. And so thinking about that is very beneficial because it can be kind of jarring or even tough, more tough than it needs to be to do a something that's really thought heavy. They're doing a form, they're learning something new, and then, okay, now let's move to this other thing. Now you're going to be up and moving around and being real active. Oh, and then when you're done doing that, be more active. And then when you're done doing that, let's move to this other thing. That's just always high, have some ebb and flow and some highs and lows to it. That really helps to break that up and makes it more memorable as well. If you think about like a movie, an action movies are great, but action movies aren't just, all action all the time, from start to finish, even the credits. There's some up and down, right? There's a story they have to tell. There's some, okay, here's the beginning. Now there's some action. Okay, there's a little bit more action. Then it starts to wind down a little bit towards the end, and then more action so they can set up for the sequel, right? That's how movies work, right? So having that up and down is really, I think, key to your running a great class, because then it's not just, whoa, okay, let's do 45 minutes of just run, jump, okay, do this, pow, do, all right, learn all this stuff, okay, do all, and just give it a little bit up and down. Okay, we're going to do this now, okay, we're going to do this now, and then have some transitional times that help to guide and move and put you into the next frame of mind to do whatever the next activity is. It's so beneficial. So if you haven't thought about that transitional time from one drill or 5-minute skill into whatever the next thing is, put some thought into that. Think about how you can, work that in and make that beneficial for your students. One thing that we like to do, sometimes we do this at the very beginning of class as a warm-up. Sometimes we do it at the very ending of class as the last thing right before they go. And I would say this is it's a relatively stapled item for us. We do this at least 7, 8, maybe 10 times a year throughout all the different classes. And we call it 101 things.
Would you call it foundational?
I would call it foundational. I was trying to avoid using foundational again. But we call it 101 things. For 101 things, they're going to do 25 push-ups. They do 25 leg lifts, 25 jumping jacks, and then 25 squats. When they're done with that, they hold their center splits. And so with that, again, we call it 101 things. They're super, super plain and basic the way we name things. They're doing 101 things because they got 25 push-ups, 25 leg lifts, 25 jumping jacks, 25 squats. There's 100, and the one thing is the center splits, and they hold that. And then that would be, again, that's either a great way to lead into your class as a good warm-up. They're active. They're doing lots of different exercises. They're hitting lots of different body parts as they do those things. Then they hold their center splits. They have some stretching afterwards. Also, it's great to end class with that, a high energy, high activity thing. And then again, they have that transitional time of holding the center splits. Again, you're not going to want to hold center splits indefinitely or really even for any length of time. Really, most people really just do not like holding center splits at all. So they hit those center splits. Okay, man, all right, man, I want everybody to get done. Okay, we're done. Woo, okay, now we can move on. Or now we're done with class. You do your mat chat. Okay, pal, all right, see you guys. Have a great weekend. That's again, real quick and easy. Man, all right, we got 5 minutes to kill. All right, let's do 101 things. Boom. Right, and you have that transitional time in between. Let's hold the center splits. Splits is a great transitional part. Then you move on and do whatever the next thing is. Now, one thing that you can do to help set yourself up for success is, of course, look at your lesson plan. You've taught these lessons over and over again. Providing they're not brand new, it's the first time you're teaching stuff, or you aren't brand new, teaching information or teaching at that school or whatever for the first time, how kind of the flow of the night's going to go. You can look at the lesson plan. We're not going to actually need 20 minutes for this, or we're not going to need 15 minutes for this. So we're going to put in this 5 minute. And then you think these things out before you go to teach for the night. Then when you're in teaching, okay, great. I had that 5 minutes. All right, man, I got this pre-program, preset thing. Let's plug and play. All right, good. Now let's move on to the next thing. Done. You set yourself up for success. You looked at these things. You already have your 5-minute games or drills or activities kind of ready to go. You just plug and play. All right, let's try this one. Boom. Okay, good. Let's do this one today. Pow. And you move on. Now, maybe not every single class is going to have a 5-minute drill. Got it. No problem. Fine. Easy, right? You just follow the lesson plan. Do those things. Maybe in your lesson plan, you have a spot where you just say, do a 5-minute drill. And then you have a list, and then you can pick and choose. That's great because that adds variety. Next time you go to teach that lesson, odds of you choosing that exact same one probably aren't very high. Maybe you move to the next one. Okay, great. You go teach that lesson again, you move to the next one. So you have, 3 options for those 5-minute drills, and then each time you teach those, you move through those. Okay, great. You taught that same class, but there was some variation in there just because you gave yourself the option to insert a 5-minute drill. and you gave the options, okay, 1, 2, or 3. Great. Done. And then you have those options built in there. Super, super handy. A great way to diversify the class, not just for the students, but for the instructors, for you, the one teaching the class. It moves from that, oh man, we're going to do this class 18 again. So boring. Did this, 100 times already. But you have that little bit of variation in there. Switch up just a little bit. It makes it so much more fresh and exciting. Again, not just for the students, but even for you. Go ahead.
Sometimes there's in a class, depending on what some groups are working on, they may need extra practice. So it's even possible for half of the class or 3/4 of the class to run one of those games in part of the room while everyone else is working on things they need to work on in another part of the room. So it doesn't always have to be an all or nothing thing either, where it's everyone has to do this one thing. And that's, again, why it's important to look at the lesson plan beforehand, because you need to know what we plan on doing, and if you already have an idea of where your group is at, if you can stick to that plan, or if you need to divert from that plan and do something different. But again, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. We can have part of the class play these games and reap the benefits of those games while the other class is doing their training and working on drills and reaping benefits of getting more repetitions in. So it also can be done very different ways, and it's important to know what's on the plan for the day and then adjust things accordingly if you need to, and just kind of work that in there. Because I know, Mr. Bean, you and I, well, in the whole class, I guess, but there's often that you'll pull your group aside to do more work. Not that they are falling behind, but they have some more complicated and more nuanced things when they're doing some of their moves. And we will do some stuff while you're doing the other training stuff. And again, maybe in my head before it was like a black or white thing. It's like, well, if he doesn't do it, then we can't do it. But it can be split, and it can be done separately, again, to reap the benefits of both different things in different groups, different areas.
And most of the time when that happens, somebody, one of the staff members will come to me, hey, are we going to do this cross kicking thing at the end? You guys can do it. My guys need, I feel like they need some extra work on this. So we're going to work on this. If you guys are ready, great, good, do it. If not, then don't do it. But yes, right. And sometimes, and there probably needs to be, and by probably I mean there does need to be some sort of communication about that. You can't, because that's sometimes what would happen before is, okay, if I'm leading the class, I felt like my group, they were behind, they weren't quite where I wanted them to be at for this stuff, so we spent extra time on this, then my group would miss out on doing those things. But since I was the one teaching the class and I didn't communicate that with anybody, everybody missed out on doing those things because I didn't tell everybody that, hey, my group needs to work on this. So I guess your guys do too. Even though that isn't the case, you guys planned accordingly, you got ahead or whatever it is, and you guys were ready to do that drill, that whatever it is, but I didn't do it because I didn't communicate that with people. And so that absolutely has happened before, and I'm trying to do better about that. And it's helpful that now you guys as a staff are coming to me, hey, are we going to do this thing at the end? And sometimes, yeah, okay, great. And then sometimes, right before it happens, you know what, they're not ready yet. And so sometimes we do, but it does, I do, I guess, shy my groups away from doing sometimes the more fun things. I don't know, for whatever that's worth.
But that's the importance of the communication, is if we talk about it beforehand, we'll have an idea of, hey, I for sure know we're going to play this game today, or I'm not sure, maybe we will, maybe we won't, or no, we're not going to. Just having some indication of what it may turn out to be. And, like you said, you may get to the end of class and realize, okay, I thought we were going to play the game, but we can't. Having that kind of in the back of our head, but talking about it beforehand is important. But yeah, to your point, the lesson plan says, hey, plan 10 minutes for a 5-minute game and a 5-minute match chat. At the 10-minute mark, we're all standing on the wall waiting for you. You look at us and say, hey, we're not doing that. I was like, oh, okay, well, now I can put everyone back in the group. That 5-minute drill turned into a 3-minute drill. Almost doesn't seem worth it. And yeah, but, looking at that lesson plan, communicating to your fellow staff members beforehand can help you plan accordingly, and then still leave room for those games if it fits, or, you can pivot and adjust to whatever needs to be done during that class time.
And I feel like we say this all the time, but we're not 100% dialed in. We don't got everything perfect. Case in point, this happens all the time. And mostly it's my fault because I don't communicate it with the team, or I say, you know what, yeah, maybe we'll do it, and then the time gets away from me. We get into the drill. Man, these guys need more work than I thought they did, and we don't do it. And then I don't take the time to stop what I'm doing with my class to say, okay, no, we're not going to do that thing at the end. You guys might be able to do it without us. I don't know, and go back to we just keep going. And so again, we say this all the time. We're not perfect. We mess up all the time. I mess up this part a lot of the time. I really do. I'm trying to do better, but I mess this up a lot of the time. So put the time into it. Set up something. Talk to your staff. Hey, listen, I don't think my guys are ready for this yet. You guys can do it. Talk that out ahead of time. Establish that. Even if somebody on your staff that is really good about being on it with their time and hitting the marks, all those things, kind of get that person to say, hey, listen, be on me to help me with that, or to be on me and help remind me to let you know if I think you guys are ready or not for that, because sometimes we need that. And it depends. Really, I think it depends on maybe, I was going to say the type of instructor you are, but maybe it's even more than that. Maybe it's the type of person you are, as far as that communication style goes. But again, no one's perfect. We certainly are not perfect. I mess this part up a lot of the time. So if you're in good company, I guess, or maybe I don't know. Anyways, you see what I'm saying.
All right. So that aside, all those things considered, what are some of our foundational or stapled games that we usually try to incorporate into our lesson plans?
So I'll give you the list of games, and I'll give you the names of them, but the names aren't going to mean anything to you. But I will put them in the episode description. And this list is not exhaustive. I'm sure you guys do games that are maybe similar to these. You call them wildly different things, or you don't do any games, or you can think of better games than this. Absolutely, sure. They're not, these games are not necessarily unique to us. It's not like we created these. We just saw somebody else or saw something and kind of implemented or tried it. And I do say that the games that we play have been tested over and over and over again and modified and adjusted lots of times in order to be a relatively functional game that it is. Again, these are just some options. These are options that our students have fun with. Again, most of these, in fact, I would say really all of these games that we're going to talk about are fun for almost any age. And the upper end, like the older guys, the older people, the older students, they're going to have fun. Some of the games are a little bit tough for the little guys, but I still think they would have fun just trying them. So, first game, and this first game, this is a go-to game for us. We do this, I would say, weekly at the end of the 5 and 6 year old class, at least once a week, and then periodically throughout the other classes as well, tapering off a little bit by the time they get black belt, just because they don't play a lot of games in those classes. But the game is called Chinese Stars. The reason we call it Chinese Stars is because we have hand targets, that they would do like jab, cross, and those type of punches on, and we throw them like they're Chinese stars. And we have the class, the students lined up against the wall. It's a big blank wall. It's got nothing on it. We throw the pads at them. If they get hit, they're out. Now, of course, if it hits the ceiling, the wall, or the floor, and then hits them, they're not out. But if it hits them and hits somebody else, they're both out. If they catch it, they're out. If they hit it, they're out. Now, I would say for us, we tend to use 6 pads and we throw them, boom, 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 and we're screaming, yeah, yeah, woo, ah, as we throw them, give it a little bit of energy as we do that. And then we say, listen, hey, at the end, after I throw in all these pads, it's your guys' job, your responsibility to use your teamwork skills and pick them up and hand them back to me. If anybody throws a pad at me, you're out. So then they collect all the pads, they hand them back to you, they get back to the wall, boom, you throw them again. If they get out, now the fun thing is you can tweak this a little bit. Sometimes when they get out, you can have them sit down, okay, watch everybody else play. Or you can have it when they get out, okay, go see an instructor on the other side of the room and review this material. They do, 5 balance kicks on each leg. Okay, boom, they get a 5, then they come right back into the game. Now, the nice thing is with that type of benefit built into it, one, they're getting practice in. Two, they're playing a game, but then also as you throw in the pad, you can try to hit everybody a whole bunch of times, right? Because if you do it the other way, if you throw the pads and then when they're out, you kind of have to play, right? It's a game that not only they're playing, but you are also playing because you just, you got 6 pads and you got, 12 people, boom, 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 boom. Okay, game's over. That's not fun, right? It's not fun. So you got to kind of play. Right, almost hit them. Oh man, I almost gotcha. And then you start to play mind games with him. You're eyeballing somebody, and you're throwing the pad not at them. You're throwing it at somebody else. You throw it at somebody else. Throw a pad at somebody else. Oh, then you hit that guy or gal. So on top of it's a game for them, it's also a little bit of a game for you. And if you haven't done that type of activity or drill game before, as much of it as martial arts is a skill, that is a skill. Trying to be able to modulate when you hit somebody, where you hit them, and how hard you're throwing that pad to make sure you're not hurting them, and definitely not trying to hit somebody in the face or the head with those. And all sorts of kind of skills and things built into that for the students: agility, focus. A little bit of teamwork, control, all those things, making sure you're not bumping into people. But for you as well, making sure you can throw those pads well enough that you're not hurting anybody, but they're still having fun, they're still getting out, but not so good that you're hitting everybody every single time. So and again, when they're out, they can play. They can go and do some kicks. They can go do their form. They can whatever it is. Then they can come back in, or they can just be out. And when they're out, they can be cheering on those people who are still playing. What a fun activity! And again, adults down to the 4-year-olds, anybody can play this. Anybody can play, and anybody's going to have fun with this one. Absolutely.
Yeah, as you said, we do it very often, at least once a week, in most classes. A little bit later or less when you get onto the other classes. But I think maybe, I don't know, in the 11 years I've been teaching, I've maybe had one person, and this is across classes and events and, summer camps and birthday parties and across the board for everything. Maybe one person has told me, I don't like this game. Other than that, everyone loves this game. They'll play this game for hours, which, we keep it short, and they do enjoy it. We could play it for hours and have a lot of fun throwing pads at kids or students or whoever it is. But like Mr. Bean said, people of all ages really enjoy this game. From 4-year-olds to your adult. It's a fun game to play, and even starting younger and playing it more often, and then kind of tapering off when you get older, it's still just as enjoyable as it was the first time. You're a black belt now. You've been here for a handful of years. And once in a while, you get to play Chinese stars, and it's even a little more challenging at that point for you as the instructor to be able to hit them. But, and no one ever is, oh man, we got to play Chinese stars. Dang it, I'm so upset about that. No, everyone loves the game, and it's a lot of fun for not only you, but for them, and it does work on skills that you're already working on in your class too.
I was going to say is, even though the black belts, for example, aren't playing these games as often, when they do, it is a real treat to them. It's like ice cream. I mean, if I could eat ice cream all the time, I probably would eat ice cream all the time, but I like to modulate that and just have it every once in a while. And when I do eat ice cream, man, it is so good. Too much of anything is a bad thing, right? So if you play games all the time over and over and over again, eventually somebody's going to get bored and tired of it. But if you have it just every once in a while, man, it's a real treat. It's exciting. Wow, man, we haven't played this for like 3 months. Woo, all right, let's play. Yeah. So it's just, it brings back all those memories, I think, too, of when they were a white, yellow, or, early on in their training where they played it so frequently. Even though they're not playing the games as frequently later on, the material is refreshing. It's fun to do. And so when they do get to play that game, it's a callback to the fun they had earlier on in their training, but it's also a treat. It's a treat because they get to have fun if they're playing a game. And it's a fun game, again, for anybody. So next game, we call this one the Great Wall. We call it the Great Wall because Well, we build a wall. We have the air shields that we would use for like side kicks or roundhouse kicks, the big, kind of ones you hold up against your body. And we lay those down on the ground. And what they do is they run and they got to try to jump and do we call it a jump flying side kick, but a jump side kick over the pad and land on the other side. If they touch the pad, they're out. When they're out, again, they can go do some exercises. They can't really go back into this one. I'll explain that why. In fact, you'll probably see why in a minute here, but they don't really go back into this one. They can go do something else, or they can sit and watch. They can cheer it on, the other people that are playing the game. But once everybody's been through, then you stack another pad on there. And then everybody goes through, you stack another pad on, and you see who can jump over the highest pad doing that kick, right? And that is, again, fun to play and try to challenge themselves to try to do that kick. They're working on the kick. They're working on their jumping, the physical part. There's some teamwork aspect of it. They're cheering on their fellow students. And even when they're out, somebody gets out, they're like, oh, good job. And then you're watching the last 2 or 3 people, and the stack of pads is growing and growing, and they're waiting. Woo, awesome. Everybody's cheering, clapping, and it's so much fun. Again, not even just even when you're out and you're just, you're just sitting and watching, it's still fun because you get to cheer them on and watch and see and ooh and ah and wow and be amazed at how high and who the unexpected person was, because it's not always the tallest person that wins this game, but who that unexpected person is that gets to, win this one. And it, again, is super fun, super fun. Again, it's so easy. You just get some of those air shields, you stack them up. Okay, who can jump over it? And you have, give them a little bit of area to run, jump, boom. They do that jump flying side kick or the jump side kick or whatever, I don't know, I guess whatever you guys call it. But they do that kick over it. They land, hopefully on 2 feet on the other side, and then boom, they go back into the line. If they touch it, they're out. And super fun game.
Yeah, I think I really liked this game when I was going through the ranks, and one of my favorite things was actually watching the instructors when they play the game and having the instructors and watching them. Of course, my memory distorts things, but it seemed as if they would jump in the air and they would just float over the pad and then softly land on the ground like it was no big deal at all. And that was really fun to watch. And then I really appreciated, I really liked the kind of competition aspect of it, where it's like, I'm one of the last 4. We're gonna see which of us can jump the pad. And again, like Mr. Bean, like you said, it wasn't always like cutthroat where I'm gonna beat you, I'm gonna jump on this pad. It's like, hey man, that's a lot of pads there. Good luck. I hope you make it over. And then you do, and you get so excited for them. Or they don't, and you really are devastated that they touched that pad. Just by a hair, they barely didn't make it over there. So I just think all in all, there's many facets to that game that make it enjoyable and fun. And I think maybe that team or sense of camaraderie might be the biggest benefit of playing that game. Not to mention that it is fun and works on their agility and their techniques and stuff like that. But I think, that was one of my favorites, definitely going through the ranks and being able to play that game and just, go full out sprint, jump in the air as high as you can, try to get over those pads.
Yeah, you talked about the instructors. I can remember Professor Brummett doing it, and I mean he's tall, relatively tall, and man, that guy can jump. Ooh, man!
Not only can he jump, but then he can bring it. He'd tuck his legs in. It becomes a tiny little ball. He's flying through the air, and then he just lands, and he's just it's again, I'm sure my memory distorts it in some ways, but at the same time, it was and still is impressive that he was able to jump over the heights of pads that he did. And even seeing you jump over pads too.
But I can say is now being on the other side, being the instructor part of it, it isn't as easy as he made it look. Definitely,
yeah. Yeah. Sometimes we'll play that game and I'll jump in just to make sure I can still do it. It's like, I don't know, it's been a while since I played this game. Let's see if I can still get the 13 pads or whatever the thing is, and trying to make it look as effortless as it seemed to. Professor Brummett at the time is a different challenge than I thought it would be.
Yes. So another game that we play, we call Wars. Wars is essentially dodgeball. So it's basically dodgeball. We just don't call it dodgeball because we don't use balls. We use the hand targets. Same hand targets we use for Chinese stars. We use for Wars. We set up some cones down the middle of the room. They run up, they grab a pad, they got to bring it back to the wall. Boom, they got to try to hit their teammates. Of course, just like dodgeball, you can have them out when somebody catches it. You can have it so they can block, they can't block. When they're out, they go do some exercises, they come back in. When they're out, they go to the other team. There's almost endless number of variations you can play with wars or again, dodgeball. It's dodgeball. You can imagine dodgeball with pads instead of balls. That's exactly what this game is. And this game, Mesh Kent said that Chinese Stars people could play for hours and hours. This game, during summer camps that we'll talk about here in a little bit, people will play wars for what seems like, wow, man, I'm getting tired of watching you guys. You guys got to be done with this. We'll have a snack or something, and they want to play more of that game.
Not only that, but multiple days in a row.
Yeah.
They played it for 6 hours today. They're going to want to play it for 6 more hours tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that, and the day after that.
I've said this a number of times. We have different themes for our camps. Again, we'll talk about those in a minute. But we very well could just have a wars camp, and people would sign up. And that one, I'm sure, would sell out like crazy because they know that's what they're going to do nearly the whole time that they're here. And they love that one. And again, as you can imagine, dodgeball, any age range. Well, maybe not so much on the little 4 or 5 year olds, 6-year-olds, maybe not so much. But as you move in to the older range, even adults, of course, everybody. Now, if you have some classes with some bigger kids or adults and some not so bigger kids, you have to maybe bring all the bigger kids together. Hey, listen, as you guys are throwing these pads, be mindful of who you are throwing them at, right? You don't want to try to smash a little guy just because you're bigger than them. Be respectful, be nice about it. You can hit him, get him out, fine, but just, be respectful. Use your common sense. And again, a blast. Everybody loves this one. Everybody. Again, dodgeball. As you can imagine, fun for everybody.
One of my favorite things about this game, too, is the amount of variability and variety and different modifications you can make. So from switching the teams around and putting different people on different teams at different times, or allowing them to catch pads, or allowing them to use the pads to block incoming pads, or it has to be a silent round where you can't talk, or you can only throw with your non-dominant hand, or you can't, there's so many things you can do to it. So I think that's another reason that it can last for a long time, is because you can play half an hour of quote-unquote vanilla or standard wars, and then you can play wars with this option for another half hour, and wars with this option, or wars with these both options. So, it's such a malleable type of game, but, everyone loves it. Everyone loves every variation of it. And it is definitely, I think, probably the student's favorite thing to do is play wars, I would say.
Yeah, and again, there's so many different variations to this. We have one where we call it jailbreak, and we set up like a makeshift little section. When they're out, they go over here, and it's got a folding pad that we use as a wall that we put up. And when you get hit from one team, you go into the other person's jail. And the only way you get out of jail is if you catch a pad while you're in jail, or somebody catches a pad and hands it to you, and then you can get out of jail. Which, again, is just a fun way to do that. Or you can have, again, those folding mats. You can stand those up and make those walls so they have kind of barriers to hide behind. Again, endless variations or options for that. So much fun. And again, like you said, you can play this one for half an hour. You move 2 people. Okay, you're on this team now, you're on that team now. The whole game is different. Whole game is different. And then you play for half an hour. Okay, all right, you 2 move now. Another half an hour, boom. The whole game is different. So if you do have some long type events, this is a wonderful game to play because there's so much variation kind of already built into the game. You just, okay, change this. Okay, modify this. Okay, tweak this. Okay, no talking this. Again, the no talking one, that is a very fun one to watch too. Okay, we're in ninja mode. No talking. Silence. And if they talk, they're out. If they get hit, they're out. He hit me. Okay, well, you're out too. Again, I like that one. I think that's probably my favorite one, is the no talking run. So next one. And for this next one, we do this for a whole week every month. A whole week. When they come to class, 2 classes. From the time they start, boom, we get bowed in, we get started, pow, they do this. and we leave. Then they come back the next day of the week. They do that same thing. Not every month. There's a couple months where we're kind of closed at the end of the month. So almost every month of the year, the whole week. And it's called belt sparring. Belt sparring is our kind of introductory into what sparring is like. And we do this for the 4-year-olds, the 5 and 6-year-olds, and the beginners class. So from white to the first year of our program is in the beginners class. And for us, again, we use this to kind of teach them the kind of ins and outs of moving into the ring, kind of some sportsmanship and how to respect each other and be in the ring and kind of move and work and timing and those kind of things. And all belt sparring is we have, all of our students have double wrap belts, and we only have them wrap it one time. And so they get really long belt tails. Then they spin those belt tails around to behind them. And it's kind of like flag football-ish. They learn how to enter the ring. They bow to the center judge. They bow to their partner. Center judge says, go. And their mission, their objective, is to grab the other person's belt tail. There's no punching. There's no kicking. None of that. They got to try to maneuver, stay in their ring, stay in their zone, and just grab their partner's belt tail. And, of course, when they do that, they say, hi-ya! They have to. That's part of it. They have to do that. And again, this is super helpful to teach those things, right? Because then you can, if you do throws or sweeps, if you do judo, this is huge on the movement, right? If that's the type of sparring, quote unquote, that you do later on, then this is super helpful for that. If you do punching and kicking, kind of boxing type of sparring, this is also helpful for that because it teaches them how to move, how to interact with that person, how to go against somebody's other, will or game plan. They're just taking the hitting out of it. You don't need pads for this. They don't need mouth guards or anything like this. Go. Okay, grab the person's belt. Boom. Okay, you got it. All right, separate. All right, let's try again. Ready, go. And we have done in the past where, okay, let's get 3 points. The hard part with that is some people they get really good at this and they get 3 points and the other person gets no points and the round is over in 15 seconds. Okay, not 15 seconds, but it's over real quick. Okay, out, and the next piece will win. And I didn't think that was necessarily fair for everybody. So what we do now, what do we do? 1.5 minutes, I think. They do 1.5 minutes. They enter the ring. They go. Okay, they got 1.5 minutes. You get as many points as you can in 1.5 minutes. Okay, that one's done. You get 30 seconds. They learn how to bow to each other. They bow to the judge. They walk back. They bow to get out of the ring. They shake their partner's hand. They tell them thank you. Then they go out. Next one comes in. They do all that stuff. Boom, timer goes, pow. Everybody gets 1 minute 30 seconds through the whole class. And so it doesn't matter if you're good or bad or whatever, you're going and you're going to be in there for the same amount of time as everybody else is. It makes it, in my eyes, it makes it more fair for everybody. It's still not 100% fair because that person may go 3 times and I may go 4 times. Okay. But, I mean, we're in the ring. We're doing the activity for the same amount of time as everybody is. And, again, we do this in the 4-year-olds, the 5 and 6-year-old, and the first year of our program, they do this type of sparring just so they get to learn the ins and outs of getting in and out of the ring. They're being respectful to their partner. They learn how to maneuver and work against somebody. And, again, that person is they're not trying to hurt me, but they have a game plan. They want to try to grab my belt. And I have a game plan. I want to try to grab their belt. So I get to learn how to maneuver and move around and work with somebody who's not necessarily working with me. Hugely beneficial. And those things are helpful to build and work on as the foundation for sparring that you do later on, whether that be punching and kicking, or you're doing, you're trying to sweep and take them down, or you're doing, some sort of jiu-jitsu where you got to do a takedown and then you stay on the ground. Again, this type of thing is really helpful. It's foundational. Again, I said it. It's foundational to get them to do these moves and learn how to interact with that person on a quote unquote gameness type of level. And it's fun. It's fun. And again, we do this the whole week. We devote the whole week to this at the end of almost every month for the whole year. And that's what the class is. Now, at the end, okay, you guys look kind of spent from this. Let's play a game. So they play Chinese stars. Line up on the wall. We're gonna throw some pads at you. Boom. But the activity, the belt sparring, that in itself is fun, and I kind of I put this in the category of game, although it's not necessarily a game. It's kind of it's a drill, but they have fun with it. So I call it if you haven't done something like that, try it. You can try it with your black belts. Have them give it a go. Okay, just tie your belt around one time, spin it around behind you. Try to grab their belt. Oh, and by the way, they're going to be trying to grab your belt. It's challenging, and definitely as you grow through the system, and black belts they do regular, quote unquote, regular sparring, what we would call regular sparring, punching, kicking with the gloves and pads and stuff on. But from time to time, they also do this because, again, as they're doing their sweeps and throws, I think this is very helpful as far as getting them to move in on somebody, getting them to close the gap, getting them to maneuver and work on the footwork, because as they're looking at the belt is near the ground. So they're looking at their partner's hips and how their legs are moving, and then they're trying to counteract that as they're trying to reach over and grab their belt. Even for this one, if they fall on the ground, you just keep going. Grab their belt. Boom. Then you can help them up. All right, you okay, man? Okay, yeah, good. All right, good. Let's go back. Boom, go again. Everybody likes this one.
I think one of the best things about belt sparring is that we do it, consistently, frequently. Like you said, at least for the first year of our regular program and our younger students program as well. And, one of the best things is watching them on day one kind of fumble through some of the steps and fumble through how to do belt sparring, and then by the time they're about to graduate out of that beginner's class into the intermediate class, and they're pros. They're belt sparring pros because they've done this consistently for so long, and they've developed and worked on and boosted the skills that the belt sparring uses or works on, and being able to watch them go from, for lack of a better word, from a zero to a hero and being great at belt sparring is really cool. And knowing that those skills would translate into their point sparring, and their sparring more like in a, more of a tactile and a punching, kicking, actually attacking type scenario. It's just really cool because, it is a fun game for them to play, but it has practical use to lead into those other scenarios, not only in the controlled environment through our classes, but, on the street. They're able to maneuver and do their footwork and watch, like Mr. Bean said, watch their opponents and how their bodies are moving and try to kind of anticipate moves and stuff. So it's a lot of fun, yes, but it's great to see them develop and work on those skills that I know are going to be applicable in other parts of their training as well.
So with games, and again, I'm sure that's not exhaustive. I'm sure you can come up with lots of other games that we missed out on or different variations. But I would say those are the games that we play. If we play a game, it is one of those or a variation of one of those. And again, we're not that it's game heavy. That's not quite the right way to say that. But from time to time, as they're in the 3 or the 4, 5, 6, and 7 and up class, early on in their learning with us, they're playing games. They have more activities like games, game-like activities. Then as they move to the intermediate class, it's a little bit less games. And they move to the advanced class, it's even less games. And by the time they get black belt, again, they're getting the games as a treat. You almost like, man, you guys did super good today. We blew through everything, amazed. All right, let's play this game. Boom. And then they get that. That's a reward for them, almost for doing a good job. So with the games, learning how to theme a game, I think is very helpful. And this comes in with the summer camps. And maybe I should just say day camps, because when we're closed for like Columbus Day, we've done a Columbus Day camp, we've done a Labor Day camp. Lots of times if we're closed like on whatever the holiday is that happens to fall on a Monday, President's Day, for the kids, mom and dad, they're like, oh man, you don't have school today. I got to put you at the daycare or something like that. We have a day camp for that. And in that day camp, they come in, they get dropped off in the morning, they get picked up in the evening. We have activities that they do throughout the day. Yeah, we do some martial arts, they do some karate, they maybe work on or review or learn something new. But for the most part, they're playing games. And we have it scheduled out the whole day, almost down to the minute. In some cases down to the minute, depending on which one it is. But putting yourself in that position is tough because, okay, man, I got all day with these guys. What do I do? You know, we have, 4 or 5 games. Okay, now what? You guys, we did everything, and it's 10 o'clock. You guys got dropped off at 8. You don't get picked up until 3. What's next? What do we do? So sometimes under pressure, you have to be creative. And as you're creative, you have to think outside the box, something you haven't thought about before. You try different things, what works, what doesn't work. But putting a theme on these things is, I think, helpful. And so one that we do is a ninja camp. In ninja camp, all of the things, and this is a whole week-long camp. So they get dropped off 7:30 in the morning. They get picked up at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. They're all day there with us. And so, of course, they have half hour, 45 minutes or whatever. Okay, maybe it's closer to 45 minutes to an hour for lunch. And then depending on how hot it is during the day or if it's raining or something like that, maybe they'll go outside. We got a park nearby, a baseball field. So we go to the park, we walk over there. They play there for a little bit, then we come back. And so maybe there's kind of a 2 hour, hour and a half window that's kind of preset most days, if not every day. Okay. And they bring a lunch. We don't have to give them lunch or anything like that. So that's already set. But, I mean, that's still multiple hours of what do we do? Question marks. So coming up with different drills for Ninja Camp. Okay, ninjas. What are ninjas? Ninjas are quiet. Ninjas are sneaky. What type of things can we do? And so we do some drills that start out real basic and really very easy in the beginning of the week. And then we do those same skills each day that they're there. By the end of the week, it's the hardest, most complicated version of whatever that is. One of them we do, super, super basic, but I really think they have fun with this one, is we turn the lights out and we have, 4 people. They try to walk from one room or from one end of the room over to the other one. And I pretend to be a guard. And if I hear something, I'll go on high alert. When I'm on high alert, I'm going to flip the light on. If I see anybody move, then they're out. Everybody's standing still. They got to freeze. Oh, okay, I guess I don't see anything. I turn the light back off. Then I got to try to move again. So super basic. And then as we go through the week with that, I just get more and more on guard. Oh, man, did I hear something? Oh, what was that? Flips the light on. And it's just super basic. Another one that we do, again, we have these folding mats that we put up like walls. I'll have half of them, so maybe 15 of them, will be out in the middle of the room. I can see everybody. Okay, flip the light off. I count to 10. I flip the light on. Where's everybody at? I don't see anybody. All right, boom, flip the light off. Okay, then the next team goes in. We do that. Then that time that I flip the light off, the time that they have to move to a hiding spot gets less and less and less and less. By the end of the week, it's like a flip. It's a hit, boom, oh, wow, where'd everybody go? And of course, they're most of the time, they're not super great at it, but they get to see some sort of a progression. We give them some, do this or try this or what about this? Just to try different things, right? And for Ninja Camp, I even came up with a not very creative story that I would tell them. Because early on when I was doing these summer camps, I got to, 10 o'clock. Okay, man, I got multiple hours left with these guys. What am I going to do? And this was as we were starting to build the summer camps and we didn't really have a game plan of, dialed down to the minute of what to do. All right, guys, I'm going to tell you a ninja story. Man, I sat down, they were eating their snack, and I just started talking. I was just making up a ninja story as I was talking. I think we did for half an hour each day of the week. And by the end of the week, everybody was like, oh, man, I can't wait to hear what happens next in the story. And I'm thinking, yeah, me too, because I have no idea. But now I've done that story a handful of times. I was able to type that up. And now the team member that we have to do the summer camp, they read that. They do that story with the camp. But it all started because I'm like, man, I'm tired. You guys got to be tired, although they're kids, so they're not tired. And I'm ready for you guys just to sit down and like maybe take a nap, and that nap time is not part of the day. So let's sit down and rest for a little bit before we get recharged and do the next thing, and I'm just going to talk. might tell some random story that I guess made enough coherent sense that the kids wanted to hear what happened next at the end. And for the most part, as I was telling this story that I was making up as I was talking, everybody was quiet. They were listening, which was super helpful. I didn't have to say, "Hey, John, sit back down, man." And then I couldn't remember what I was talking about. So that was very helpful that the kids more or less played along with that. Another camp that we've done in the past, although not as successful, I think, as Ninja Camp, is all sports camp. They come in, we play, here's baseball, here's kickball, here's ultimate frisbee, and they do different activities like that throughout the day. Of course, planning that is maybe a little bit tougher, and it's not generally as many signups as that. I know another camp that we've done, which is similar to Ninja Camp, although a little bit different, was Karate Kid Camp. The newer Karate Kid movie had came out, so we kind of capitalized on, okay, well, let's do a Karate Kid Camp. And so we did that, and we did that for a handful of years, and that was beneficial. So I try to think about the different things, different activities that are going on kind of outside, what movies are people interested in, and how can you build an atmosphere, a camp, different activities, drills, and maybe even skills that go with that. Another one that we do, which is a staple, which sells out all the time, is of course Nerf Camp. Nerf Camp, again, we do Nerf games all the time. Nerf Camp is so much fun, and the kids, by the end, they're asking to play sometimes other games besides Nerf, just because like their hands from holding the guns, like they have like not wear marks, what is like what would you call it? Like blisters on they have blisters on their hands from holding the gun for so long. So like, we'll give your hands a break for a little bit. We'll play Wars for a little while, and then we'll come back to Nerf some more. But they play a ton of Nerf during those. Again, we talked about that I think last week, but those Nerf guns almost never wear out. I mean, they break, yes, but they don't wear out. If you got a Nerf gun that's not shooting very well, it's not the gun, switch the dart. And that's the cheaper option anyway. So try it with a different dart. Oh man, that works so much good. Throw out all those old darts, put the new darts in, let's go. Right? We do that for birthday parties too. Maybe we do every 6 months, or after the summer camp, pretty well the Nerf darts are done. Those all go in the trash, and we get new ones for the birthday parties we do through the year. They get new ones for the summer camp that we do. We dump those, we move on. It's relatively inexpensive to switch out those darts, but it makes it so much better because the darts really are the key factor in the Nerf. So yeah, again, whatever you have, Ninja Turtles. Okay, Ninja Turtle camp. Boom. You do Ninja Turtle type things, right? Okay, what do Ninja Turtles do? Okay, they're in the sewers. Okay, we got to pretend like we're in the sewer. Okay, you got Master Splinter is teaching you the karate moves, and you got somebody, you have an opportunity to do the bow staff. You do the sword. Okay, you do these all these different activities, and you just do them in a Ninja Turtle atmosphere. Put your Ninja Turtle hat on and think like Ninja Turtles, and be in that, play that part, and then make the camp like that. I don't think we've talked about this before, and this was a little bit different. We were actually invited to go to a wizard camp, and this was a camp near us was doing like an outside camp, like a Boy Scouts camp. They were doing a wizard camp, and for whatever reason, we got invited to do an activity for there. I have no idea how wizards and martial arts have any sort of overlap at all. But we were there, and we got there, and they were getting put into their different quadrants, their different factions of wizardry. You get voted to this one, and you get voted to that one, and we got there, and we're like, oh my gosh, this is so much more intensive, so much more thought out than we had any idea that it was going to be. And so we brought some pads, and we were going to do some self-defense type things, and I guess we were supposed to do, defense against the bad magic. We had two cycles that we did. We did the first one, okay, we did the next one. And mind you, the kids that came to us, they were coming from flying practice. So I don't know how they had that rigged up, but they were on some sort of a zip line on a flying broom, and they were zip lining from one area to the other, and we were the next thing. So we probably already weren't put in a good position. Maybe we should have been before before the flying practice. That would have been maybe a little bit better. But they went from that activity to us doing karate, and they were as confused as we were trying to figure out what karate. What this isn't that part of wizardry. What is going on? So again, we did 2 of them. We did some basic palm strike, punch, something or other. Okay, all right, and then that was it. Okay, now you guys go off, do something, whatever else they were going to do. I have no idea. But then the next guys came to us, and as the next guys came to us, I'm thinking, man, they had no fun for that. That was miserable. What can we do to make this better? And it was all about theming. So it happened. I did not plan this at all, but it happened that I happened to have all black pads. Okay, all right, maybe I can work with these. These are the black spells. So they did the exact same thing that the previous kids did. The last group, they did the exact same thing. But this time, as they were doing them, I used magic-y type words. So, all right, now this time, as this person's going to throw this magic spell at you, it's like a punch, and you got to use this and block the punch. Or I'm going to toss this in the air to you, and that person casts the black magic spell at you, and you got to hit it out of the air. And then we played Chinese stars at the end. I lined them all up on the wall, just like I did in the first one. But I called it something different. I gave it a different atmosphere, a different thought process behind it. Okay, listen, you guys are going to line up here. I'm going to throw these black magic spells at you. You guys got to move out of the way. If you get hit by a black magic spell, you're out. You're out. You got to go over here and try to get healed up before you can come back in. Just that. It was a night and day difference between the amount of fun and interest level the first group had and the second group had. Okay, maybe that was a little bit, maybe the kids were a little bit different. You could say, okay, but I did the exact same thing on both of those. The only difference was it was themed. I put on my wizardry hat, and we did a wizardry atmosphere, and they had so much more fun. It was amazing, the difference, that just changing the verbiage that I used. So with that, whatever games that you do, if you have some sort of theme of camp that you want to do or you want to try out doing, theme the game. Play within the realm of whatever that, the Karate Kid or the Ninja Turtles or whatever it is, play within that realm and make that game something they would do or something that they did do. A huge difference in the amount of interest that the students will have with that. Absolutely. You got anything to add to those? The wizard one, I was so confused when we got there. Oh my gosh. We just winged it. Okay, all right, guess we're just going to try this. Well, that was miserable. So I was able to think on the fly and do something different, themed it. Man, amazing. And I share that with you guys, but I share that with the staff every once in a while. And the staff member that I did that with, it was just me and the other guy. He's not here anymore, but if I see them, sometimes it's fun to reminisce about that because that was such a memorable moment for us to be able to change that and make it like that was fun. It's fun. You got anything else to add to games or anything, sir?
No, sir. I mean, of course, as we talked about, it's not an exhaustive list. It's just a few of the things that we do pretty regularly. But I think the most important part is being able to implement these into your lesson plan and, add a little bit of fun and variety and just, kind of loosen up a little bit and enjoy these games with you and your students. As always, you can find us online on the social media, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Reddit, Instagram. Reach out to us. Let us know if you like any of the games we talked about today, any of the ideas that we presented to you, or, help us expand our repertoire of games. Tell us some things that you do and ways that it benefits you and your students and how you implement that into your lesson plan. But give us a few more ideas. Have us build up our foundation of games and things that we can do with our students. And you can find us at MA Teaching Tactics, MA for Martial Arts, Teaching Tactics. Again, that is MA Teaching Tactics. Until next time, I'm Chris Kent.
And I'm Chris Bean.